What's up, y'all? It's just Rhonda. Welcome to my channel. We're going to get into the Never Ever Mets. What is it? Season 1, Episode 6. Like the video, subscribe to my channel. Happy Memorial Day. I hope everybody had a really, nice, safe Memorial Day weekend. Get into some of that regular, cook out a little bit, something, eat a little something, spend a little time in community. That's what I like to do. You know, it's funny. My niece lives in Michigan. I live in Florida. So we decided we were going to cook out together. That's what we do. That's how we keep, that's how I know like what's going on with the family. That's how we visit each other. So we were like, we're going to go to the store together. And then we're going to come home to our prospective homes and, cook out, do our thing and visiting or get caught up on what's going on. That's how I spent my Memorial Day. There's a lot of value in that. I love that. I love that we can not be in the same state, but still, I get to hear my nephew in the background and my great niece. And it's just that, it's how that's how I do it. I mean, everybody has their way. Anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed yours the way I was able to enjoy mine. These people over here, the Never Ever Mets. It's crazy to me because I try to stay away from, reviews and things because I need to get my review out and I can't do my work if I'm over here like watching everybody else's work. And then I'm, behind and a little bit under the influence. So I like to be under the influence. I like to do mine and then listen and see what everybody else is going to say. Unless it's alive, I go watch the Never Ever Mets, and then I go over to another round and listen to their live. And lately, I've been going over to actually Aubrey's live afterwards. So that part is not the same thing, And then, not for nothing, the Bishop Aaron be everywhere. So then I get to see like him explain himself about the behaviors that's be happening over in this house. So it's nice to get a little explanation from the bishop, see if, it makes sense. It usually don't. It don't matter, but that's what happens. Anyway, now, so I'm here with my 2 cents because that's what I do. I come over here after I watch the show and give my 2 cents. So people be like, oh my God, don't judge me because I'm on a reality show and you can't judge people based on the things that you see production doing. That's not a new song. We heard it before. I'm making my judgments based on the things I see on the show and over here on Car Ride Chronicles or wherever you happen to be giving your dissertation on the behaviors over here. I don't hear everybody with a whole lot to say, just Bishop. So hell, if anybody else was over here saying anything, I heard what Dominique has to say. Those people are gone. But the behavior isn't. The behavior is pretty much the same as it was when we started out. So let's start there. Very first thing comes out of his mouth when the show starts. F-U-B. Biatch. F you, bitch. That's where we started. That's where the bishop started. Bishop Aaron still screaming at Aunt Esther. And I can't say I blame him because she came for the smoke. She did. But the visual of it all, this lady is standing there screaming, and then the bishop is getting pushed out of the room by 4 different, there's 2 guys over here, then he comes to another side and they're pushing him up and everybody's being held back from, I don't know, fisticuffs. I don't know what's about to happen over here. I just met this people. I just was flashing back that, oh my God, young lady, if you have to chase someone off with a frying pan, first time you meet him, I just want you to remember that. I'm telling you this because I've been through it. Flash forward to, Bishop Aaron screaming at this lady and she calling him a fish-eyed fool. Listen, this was all Diamond's doing. That's what I feel like. The lady said, I fight niggas for fun. That's what she said. That's what she told Diamond. She said, I fight niggas for fun. So if that's the friend you chose to bring, Diamond, I guess the fight is what you was looking for. Because she's typically looking for a fight of some kind. And the bishop is there, definitely there, down to, perform. It's like foreplay for these two. She sits in her corner and concocts this little situation, and then she sets him off to go, rant and rave and do whatever that thing is that he does, and you know, then they go bust it on down in boom boom room. That's what she had that thunderbutt dress on for. They got each other all excited with a good fight, and off to the boom boom room they go. I mean, what do you want me to do? I mean, the lady can fight. That's what she said she did. She mission accomplished. It must be so pleasant to be around their friend group. Anyway, Chris said him and Sandia have their sexual chemistry is on high, all-time high. And I was like, wasn't y'all's on a million, 1,000 when you got here? The sexual energy, chemistry. I ain't seen it, but I feel like people have moved out and figuring out their spaces a little, got a little more couple. How many couples? 2 couples gone, getting a little more elbow room. Things have been moved around. And Shay and Josh, they came in the house and they haven't come out the room. I see Josh comes out to eat and Shay does occasionally. Any other time, they're wrapped up in a blanket somewhere, popping bottles and stuff. And then, we know how the Bishop and the Lovely Diamond get down. So I don't know who's occupying what room, but I know it ain't Chris. He can't get a reservation at the Boom Boom room. And he really wants to go kiss Sandia on the forehead so he can get all up in her mind space. They have a room, but young Aaron is sleeping in there because Jody won't let him nowhere near her. And, so something needs to be figured out, That's all that is. They're just all looking for a more permanent room situation. And that's why I came here. You know what I'm saying? It makes sense. If people are, dating for 15, 20 years online and they finally get a chance to be around each other, then that's what they're going to do. But everybody's in a different place in their life too. Millie has no business here, and neither does Jody, but I'll get into that. Speaking of Jody and Aaron they have these little moments that we're starting to see now where they're communicating with one another, if that's what you want to call it. It seems like she's communicating to him what her boundaries are and how things are to be executed. That's what I hear Jody doing. I see her doing, honestly, the same kind of thing that Chris is doing. It just seems like Jody is getting more heat for it. You know what I'm saying? It's like the story is Jody and Chris have some type of connection with each other. Whatever it is, romantic, not probably, more than likely, but whatever it is, it's bothering the other people that the affection that they're giving to each other is not being at least out in the open where everyone can see, is not being I'm not seeing the kind of public affection that I need to see to make these people make me believe that they like each other. There's not enough of that. So everybody's all heightened in their emotions except for Sandia and Aaron, who these 4, the people that are, the point of contingency for everybody else, kind of seem like they're getting along with each other. There's no fighting going on between them. Sandia says she didn't like the exchange between the 2 of them. She took it to her man and he needs to fix that. That's the end of that story. But, the Bishop is over here all up in arms about Aaron and he hates Jody. At least he did 2 years ago, which is what I'm watching. So how you feel about Jody today don't really kind of matter because I ain't seen y'all what you're doing today. I only think what y'all was doing 2 years ago on Friday. Anyway. Jody thinks that, she wants to keep people out of their business. And they should. Like, nobody in there really is in the position to be trying to be anything in your business. That's not what you're there for. Like, I feel like the relationships with these people, depending on who it is, if you bond with somebody, you bond with them. If you don't, I don't see the point in sharing and trying to perform to make them comfortable about where you should be in your relationship. This girl went through abuse. So it's 100% affected the way she's moving right now in this moment. She's felt comfortable enough to expose those things to Aaron and let him know what's going on with her personally. So he treats her accordingly based on what he knows she's been through. She ain't told that to all you people because she don't have to. Why would she? It ain't safe. Even the person, Chris, that y'all are like, oh my God, she really got it in for him. He didn't even know that. She shared that with Aaron. And then Aaron is careful with her feelings. I wish she was as careful with his feelings. And honestly, Aaron seems like a pretty healthy, normal young man without those types of issues that we know about. I've only seen him be careful with her feelings, like he's only come across as a good guy. So let's get this out the way because it keeps coming up and it's so irritating. It becomes more and more irritating. Aaron showed up here with Jody and everybody was like, and by everybody, I mean like the streets that we all be rolling up and through listening to people talk about the show. He doesn't like girls. He don't like that girl. He's not into girls. I don't know what he's into. I know he's a young man that's 27 years old and he might need to figure that out. I don't know. I know he seems, though, to handle her very carefully. He seems like a nice guy. There's not anything he can do right. She doesn't like him like that. She does feel comfortable with him, but the whole romantic thing, I don't really feel like it's a thing. And that's not his fault. And it's not because he doesn't like girls. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he does. It doesn't matter. He seems like a nice person. And all of these relationships, like I feel like when you're talking about romance and relationships, sometimes all the relationships play a part. Even if he, the purpose was for him to come here, like gay or straight, even if he was like 100% made everyone feel like he only likes girls, took his earring out and all of a sudden y'all are comfortable with his manhood. Even if that was the case, Jody has issues that she ain't really need to be nowhere near any of this right now. That wouldn't change anything. So even saying that makes no sense. But I feel I come from a place of being educated with young people, and people are like, "Oh my God, why doesn't he just say he's gay? Why doesn't like this is not a safe space?" And you can't move and say, "Why does he have to say anything?" Maybe he hasn't figured it out. Maybe he has, and y'all are just judging based on I don't know what, because for me it kind of doesn't even matter, like what people like. As long as they're good to each other, it kind of really doesn't matter. But I know as a young person trying to figure it out, it damn sure ain't easy with everybody telling you what you don't like. When how come he can't have a crush on the older woman that's a sexologist or whatever she claims to be? I'm just putting out there. I see people like grown people like my age people like playing little songs and making little gay jokes. And I'm like, so then, if he were, struggling, God forbid, he ain't going to say nothing now. Nor should he feel like he has to. Way worse things are going on over here. Fight clubs and things. Anyway. I think it's smart for them to keep, people out of their business because if she's got that kind of thing going on, with the abuse in her past, like that ain't something you just want to be sharing with everybody. And it's also not something like that you can enter into a relationship with someone with when you haven't resolved those issues. Like she's still very much in trauma, her and Millie both. So the guys are standing outside, and it must be cold because they got their coats on. And why Chris felt like he wanted to just squish his ass in that girl's little jacket, I don't know. So he's running around there dressed like a little fuzzy teddy bear. Greg ushers this situation where he asked him if he would have a conversation with Millie, because last week Millie then, got all up in her feelings because she has no control over them and called this man a bitch because she's so angry about how he is treating Sandia, who seems to be handling her situation quite well without any of y'all's input, because y'all's input has incited many fights around the house within the last couple of weeks. And she ain't said not a word. She's sitting there looking at y'all like, can I please have my business? Nobody asked you to do any of this. Keep seeing her and Jody sit around having conversations together. And y'all are like, stay away from her. And I don't know like what type of person Jody is. I don't know if she's a good girl or a bad girl. I'm just saying y'all are way far more worked up than this young lady is. Anyway, Greg ushers this meeting. So they sit down, and as soon as they sit down, Millie's already like acting very condescending. Chris was like, last time, we were in this room together, like you were calling me a bitch. And she's like, I did, because you were acting like a bitch. Pretty much just, girl, all you had to say was, sorry about that. I start feeling some type of way and I shouldn't have called you out your name. At the end of the day, you really don't have any reason to engage with this man. You're here to, develop your relationship with Greg, and arguing with this man over like you act like I think you think what you were doing is speaking up for Sandia, but then in the next breath you come out of mouth with, you could never have a bitch like me. You would never have a woman like me. I'm not meek and quiet and like, the things you were saying to big up yourself were definitely insulting to Sandia. And I mean, a bitch like you, what is that? Because it looks like a bitch like you needs to be really like fall all the way back and get some healing, because you got some real issues going on. And then you can't get through a sentence without, I don't know, you escalate. Like you said that you related to Sienna, and you really do. It's crazy. Like y'all are kind of very more similar in personality than I realized. And Greg is much like Brandon. He's very much just like, okay, he's very careful. You got Greg, who's very careful with your feelings. Doesn't matter because he can't be right. He can't be right. If he says, I'll be here for you, I'll need you to be here for me. If he says, okay, like, I don't understand, oh my God, he doesn't understand anything. He's so immature. He just doesn't understand my feelings. Like, I don't think there's a whole lot he can do right now for you because you need other help. That's probably why y'all been on the phone for 3 years, because it's easy. You know what I'm saying? It's easy for you to communicate that way because you don't have to be in physical contact with anyone based on the things that you've gone through. And the stuff that you said you've gone through, like that's very heavy. I feel like most people come into new relationships with baggage from the last relationships and bad habits and things of that nature that you need to work on. The regular stuff, communication, and how you handle certain situations. I think that's kind of the thing. Lifestyles, and those are difficult things to manage when you come into a relationship and try to blend those things. Maybe he's from here and you have cultural differences. Those are the things that people deal with when going into a relationship. When you're talking about the type of abuse that these women are talking about, that's very heavy. And I don't see how you can be in a relationship until you deal with those type of things. When Millie is so raw, she's having a conversation with Greg. He's literally sitting there with his hand on her neck, trying to calm and soothe her. And she's punching the air, mad, literally. So, same thing with Jody. Anyway, that all went bad. She cussed the man out. He gets up and walks away, and she followed him to the other room. She followed him to the other room. She's still calling him all kind of bitches and He done called her a broke slut. I'm like, well, I mean, girl, you said he had a little dick. He said you was a broke slut. That's Charlotte even. She would call this man, said something about his manhood. Like, girl, why are you talking about this man's penis? How did it get here? Girl, get your girl. And he should not physically have to be pushing you out of the room. Like, you just as bad as these niggas. You got the bishop, you got Dominique. Who else? Getting carried out of the room. Chris carried out of the room. That was very dramatic. I don't really think like Chris was trying to run away from this lady at this point. Like he was just going to call her names, but still, it was a lot. Then she goes in the kitchen and trying to explain the situation to Sandia. And Sandia's like, listen, my man don't argue with women. He's not about to do that. And you calling people out of their name and all of that, like he's not doing that. So you calling him bitches and things like that's where I don't like that. If you could communicate your feelings, that's one thing. When you start calling this man out of his name and calling him bitches, then you might just get called a broke slut. I don't know, but I don't like it. I don't like the name calling. And then she sits up there and is like, I was gonna apologize, but he didn't give me room to. Yeah, he did. When he sat down. When he sat down and was like, listen, you called me a bitch, you should have been like, I'm sorry. That's it. That's all. I don't think there's any man like that she's going to be able to communicate with unless they're talking to her with the most, I don't know. Like she needs not to be here getting tied up and feathered down and Karma Sutra. Those are none of the things that's, you know what I mean? Come on. I did not like the way she was disrespecting Sandia. I'm like, girl, do you hear yourself? And now what are we mad about? We're mad about disrespecting Sandia, like what you're doing right now. So this week, Jody's friend and Aaron's dad come to visit. I was like, in a situation where, Black men have not been behaving very good, it's nice to see somebody's dad shows up. I'm like, that's cool. This young man, his person was not his silly young friend who couldn't help him, you know what I'm saying, who doesn't know any more than he does, or his older little cousin who can't really give him sound advice. He had his dad come, and I was like, that's dope. And he said he's very close to his dad. We did not know that Aaron has a child. He said his son is the only blood relative that he has in Atlanta. So I don't know where his mom is, and his dad is probably not in the same state, but he said they're very close to one another. And you can see that, like, they just hugged each other, and it was so nice to see the bond, the father-son bond. They're playing pool, and he's telling his dad like how he's intimidated by Jody and her job as a sexologist. And I'm like, yeah, that's, oh, poor baby. That's not going to put you in a position of confidence if you're coming from a place of intimidation. And I get it. Like if you're not that experienced, and then you have this girl who's referring herself as a man eater and a sexologist, like that can be a lot of pressure. Another one of those things that men usually don't have the space to open up and be vulnerable about, because you get called gay and stuff if you say like you're intimidated by her, job. So, and it's so nice that like you can have a bond with your parent, that you can let them know those type of things. And his dad came with very sound advice. You know what I'm saying? He was just telling him to be patient and listen to her. And, I thought it was a dope moment. What Aaron said was, I'm extremely comfortable with my father. And I that's the thing that I want with my children. I want whatever they're going through, I want them to be able to, and I feel like I mostly have that. I think there's times, it's your parent and you don't want them to be disappointed or judge you or things. And so you don't always share everything. For my kids, there's a big age gap. So if they don't have me, there's a sibling that they can go to that, that's a safe space for them to share things. But I have a lot of open dialogue with my kids because I've always wanted them to be, I'm going to tell you the truth. and I care about your best interest. Now, you might not like my advice, but I don't want you to feel like you can't come to me, regardless to what it is. I don't care what it is. You know, we're gonna give you the love first, and then we'll get to the lesson after. You're in a safe space. And so for him to say, I'm extremely comfortable with my father, because I hear things like, I don't cuss in front of my parents, and I don't do this in front of my parents, and I don't do that in front of my parents. And I'm like, that's fine. I think there's also definitely a level of respect. But if you can't talk about, your sex life and your intimacy with your parent, I hope you got somebody you can't talk to because you can't trust people always. Um, I just thought that was dope. I was like, this is why he comes across as such a nice guy, because when you have positive influences from within your house, your home, it I think it helps you navigate through the world better, definitely, because you feel like you have a support system. Now Jody's talking to her friend, and she's telling her friend how, like, the first date, like, it sucked. And I was like, it did suck. I'm confused, because it was a nice little date with wine and cheese, and she was irritated by him standing there. So he couldn't do nothing. There was nothing he was going to be able to do to turn it around. I said from the very beginning, I think Jody's not even a good friend because of the way she treats him. I don't like it. From what I can see, she's doing the same type of manipulating, like I said, that Chris is doing. It's probably why they understand each other so much. And although I can feel empathy for her and her trauma, I don't think that makes it okay to not be good to somebody that's being so good to you. I also think, like, Jody, she needs somebody that's going to be older and more mature to help her through whatever it is she's going through. She can't be, like, in a space with somebody who isn't strong enough who doesn't know their self yet. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can't tell you, like, how to do anything because I don't know anything. Like, he doesn't even know how to open a wine bottle. And that's not an issue because he's a young guy. So, like, he still has some life to live before he can get in that place. Jody is not your yeah, she's not your match, baby. Aaron introduces his cute daddy to the rest of the guys. The daddy came in there looking the same age, like he's looking like one of his little friends. I mean, when the daddy came in there, this sends the freaking bishop into overdrive. He's like foaming at the mouth to try to get to offer up his unsolicited advice about this man's son to him. Because anything that comes out of his mouth is sound advice, and he knows better than everyone. And everyone should listen to his point of view and perspective because it's the only one that's the right way to think about things. Trust me, call me later. You're going to tell me I'm right. Or not. His nosy ass stepped in immediately and, like, starts speaking on Jody based on his opinion and how she's not right for him. And Aaron's dad is like, are you, like, assessing everybody's situation or just my son? Because it's a little creepy, freaky bishop, how you're hovering over the man's son, all up in his business. And I've had somebody do this to me. My daughter used to work for someone who, every time I went to her, she worked at a bar, and every time I went to the bar, he would try to come over there and try to, like, tell me how she's such a good girl, and talk to me like he raised her. And I'm like, nigga, you just met her last year, and I know her very well. I don't need you over here trying to tell me what kind of child my daughter is. And that's the same thing I felt when the bishop, I'm like, this man came in here, said he loves his dad. They have a great relationship. You think he don't know his son? He'll be able to peep what's going on with that girl. Thank you, sir. Back the fuck up. Just say, hey, nice to meet you, and sit over there. Nobody asked for your opinion. And also, I don't feel like Aaron has any respect for the bishop. When he came in there screaming and pointing at Jody because I never liked you from the very beginning. You're full of shit. When he came in there and that young man said, I'm going to need you to calm down, bring it on down, because none of this is any of your business. This isn't even somebody that has respect for you like that. When you introduced yourself to his dad said, oh, you're the guy. That means that Aaron had already told his daddy how obnoxious your ass is. You're the guy. And I can appreciate how he just sat back and let you say whatever it is you needed to say. And I also was like watching the positioning. The positioning was very dope to me, like how Aaron was kind of standing behind his dad a little bit. His dad is there, like, not necessarily in front of his son, but kind of next to him and in front of him in a protective father kind of way. I'm really concerned as to why your ass is so invested in my son. He has a father. Find one of these boys that don't. Funny thing is, you sitting up here talking about how Jody ain't the one for Aaron, as if it mattered what you think. But Aunt Esther said the same thing about you. You ain't like it. Aunt Esther said, you are not the one, because you was over here engaging yourself with somebody other than Diamond. We don't want to talk about that. We could talk about everything under the sun, but we will not talk about that lady that you engaged yourself to. You could do all kind of analogies about how one cab comes along and it ain't the right direction, and you get in another cab and bring it back to where you're supposed to be, and you engaged yourself to that lady. That's what you did. And Aunt Esther ain't forgot about it. And Diamond didn't either. That's why she brought Aunt Esther over here to fight with you. You got more fights to fight. I don't know. It was 2 years ago. Maybe you fought yourself out. Maybe you fought yourself out of the doghouse. We'll see. Aaron introduces his dad to Jody and her friend, and they sat around. They had a very I don't know, I like the conversation. It was very supportive coming from both people. Nobody was calling nobody no fish-eyed fool. Wasn't nobody calling nobody's friend no bitches and stanky asses and you look like an ass. No, that wasn't, none of the conversation was like that. The conversation was really about how people from the outside be trying to judge you and tell you how you should be doing things based on what they think it should look like, and that's not necessarily fair. These two know each other. His dad was like, if you give him a chance, and trust him a little bit more. And I think he was right about that. I think she has trusted him enough, but he's not the one for her. His dad did ask her, he said, so are you confident in this relationship? And, she stammered over outside influences and people, and I feel like her dad peeped it. You know what I'm saying? I think he was in no way trying to embarrass this young lady. But he asked the question for a reason. And I'm sure him and Aaron, because they're close, had a conversation about it afterwards. You know what I'm saying? It's time for them to leave. He gets up. He asked her if he could salsa dance with her. Obviously, this is a conversation that already took place, because I'm sure Aaron was like, Dad, I tried to salsa dance with her and I flubbed it and I messed up the whole thing, because he talked to her friend and he was like, that's kind of what I was trying to do. And her friend was like, yeah, you messed it up, but I heard about it. And, it was still all in good fun. He spun her around and he dipped her and, gave her all the things that, I guess she needed in that moment. I think seeing them together, you could see that what Jody is looking for is a more mature, confident man, and Aaron is not it. You know what I'm saying? And I also feel like Aaron has watched his dad, maneuver like that, and that suave come in with a smile kind of thing and woo the ladies kind of thing. And I think he probably wants to emulate that. And it's hard to emulate somebody else's flavor. You know what I'm saying? He need to figure out his, and be like your dad, but don't try to be your dad, because be who you are. You're always better at being you. And you got to stand in it. Don't let like weird ass old preacher's kids try to influence you to do things you know it's against your spirit. Millie opens up to Greg about her trauma. I feel like this is kind of, been the ongoing conversation since she opened up in the first place about this. Um, I feel like when you're on the listening end of something like that, you kind of don't necessarily know what to do with people's emotions because it's not something that you can actually help with. You know what I'm saying? Or you know how to help. I feel like he did his best version of trying to just be soothing and calm to her. When she told him what happened, like I said, she was literally like fighting. And the whole time he's just quiet. Like, what can you be? Let her get it out. And he lets her know, like, I'll be your strength when you need it. And she's like, I don't need you to be strong for me like that. Okay, she rejects that. So what else can he do? There's nothing he can do. They need to take their relationship back to the online, and he can to be there for her while she heals. And I feel like he has his own healing to do. So it's not like, maybe if things are supposed to be, they can revisit it later when they both get a little healing. But he was saying like how he had been going through some things and he's just now getting back on his feet. And so it seems like they both need more time. She definitely does. He gonna look around and be drudged all up in it. And if she's not doing something to work on it, then that's toxic as hell. Um, so the men are discussing a new sleeping arrangement, and they have decided that, Aaron, move your ass over in that room with Jody. We're gonna double up. That's how we're gonna do this. And and Aaron, get up out of that room. I think that's creepy. I don't want to lay up in there while those two are snuggle bugging over in the corner and you laying up there farting. I feel like he's so uncomfortable approaching Jody about anything. Like, she got them boundaries so tight, child. He got to say, mother, may I, before he crossed the line. And that's not healthy. They, move him into her room, move his bed into her room. Her room, like, first of all, they're in a room with 7 freaking beds. Like, it wasn't that serious. I don't know why he thought it was a good idea to get up in the middle of the night and push his bed next to hers. Now, Aaron, that was a violation. But I think also, I'm not making excuses for him by any means, but when you're telling somebody you want them to be confident and strong, and when he is confused and was like, maybe if I move the bed over, like, I just think he's just doing all the wrong things because he doesn't know what to do. What he needs to do is let that go. Um, and I mean completely. I don't even feel like she's a very good friend. Don't waste your time. Honestly, she's not even being nice to you. Not really. Her and Millie are doing the same thing. She's only like allowing you to listen and carry whatever weight that she dumps on you. You don't get the same. I don't see it. We haven't seen it. We haven't seen her give you the same energy where you can come and let her know, like, you're intimidating, the whole sexology thing. Like, he should be able to say that to her, and her be able to make him feel comfortable in that space. But that's not what it's all about. You toe this line and do this thing and make me feel like comfortable and sit over there. If I don't want to talk, like, yeah, she's not even really giving him. I don't understand how you can crave sexual energy from someone who's not letting you nowhere in that space. Not know how, not no hugs, not no hand holding, not even a whole lot of sitting in the same room. And if there is an intimate moment, it's about her explaining to you what you need to do in order to make her feel comfortable. So I don't know how you even muster up any type of sexual attraction to any of that. But again, like, Aaron is a good guy and he's still very careful with her feelings. Even when he messed up, like, he. they were sitting in a room talking, and I think who was it? It was Josh and Shay and Chris. And she did open up and tell those people what she had been through, which I feel like she didn't have to do that. But Chris let her know that Aaron was 100% like trying to respect her boundaries. And so, when you look back, it explained like how he was definitely like, I don't know how she's gonna feel about that. And he said that they definitely pressured him, not because of anything other than they were just trying to get booed up together. And she was understanding of that. I think she was okay with him being in the room. It's just when he moved over there, making weird moves. Again, here they are, people communicating without fighting. Who was absent from the room? I won't have to say it. Tyranda introduces Greg and Millie to a therapist, and Millie shares her story with the therapist. And before we sitting there good, she's on her 0 to 100 like within the quickness. She was sharing her trauma, and the therapist told Greg like she noticed that when she was telling the story, he was off a little distant, like what was on his mind. And he just mentioned that he had also been through trauma, and then here she is physically punching the air all the way up on 10, because see how he doesn't know how to respond to my trauma. And I'm like, girl, this whole relationship thing involves two people. If the man said he has trauma, you just sat there and spilled it all on his lap, and he sat there and soothed you through the whole thing. At the very least, you could have been like, really? I didn't know that. What are you irritated about? I feel like this right here, Greg and Millie, they should take advantage of this therapy starter kit and then plan their exit. And then it'll be another room available over there in that house, because this is beyond. And him, like, he didn't share his trauma. We don't know if he's gonna share it next week or not, but I wouldn't feel safe sharing it. Maybe just with the therapist, but Millie is not a safe space to share your trauma. She's just gonna shit on you. So just keep it to yourself. Next week, Aaron and Jody do a photo shoot. I suppose. I think Jody is just as trauma filled as Millie. So I want her to stop playing with this boy. Let him get back to his regular life and his kid. Greg is back in the doghouse with Millie. I don't know what he did. Blink too hard. It don't matter. It's like Brandon and Sierra all over again. Sienna. He gonna mess around and get caught a couple few bitches before the episode is over, probably. And Shay wants to know why some lady got Josh's name in her mouth. He doesn't even know. He doesn't know how he fell into the roommate's cootie cat. He don't know where that baby fell out from. He doesn't know anything. No surprise here, but that's it, y'all. Like the video, subscribe to my channel, and we'll be back next week for another one. Bye, y'all.